September 25th, 2013. Tragedy hit us unexpectedly, and you stepped up. Tell us what happened and what was going through your mind at that time.
It was a really unexpected event. I was working in Fayetteville that day, and John LaBeouf, who had come from the Fayetteville location and got promoted to Raleigh as sales manager, he had called me, and Michael Thompson, the GM at that time, hadn't shown up for the shift. And John was really concerned because I wasn't like Michael, and you knew Michael. So what we had done is immediately I knew something was wrong, and I knew where Michael had lived. So I gave John the address. John drove by there. There was a kitchen light on, and I get cold chills thinking about it. And at that moment, we really didn't know. And it was a matter of I got in my car, drove to Raleigh. And in the meantime, of course, we did called the police department to do a wellness check. And I got the call from John about 2 p.m. when the initial kind of alarm. But then by the time the police arrived, it was 6 o'clock in the evening. And that's when they had found he was in the apartment and he had passed away.
Wow, what a story. Okay, we are here with Kevin Kinmann, and we're going to get real.
Join Charlie Maloof as he explores the personal journeys of Broad River Retail's very own memory makers. Welcome to Stories from the River.
Welcome to the podcast, Kevin. I've been looking forward to the chance to share your story here for a long time. Welcome.
I'm excited to be here, Charlie. Thank you for having me.
Sounds like we're about to get real, huh?
It's going to be really, as real as it could be.
So you've been in this industry a long time, Kevin, and you've recently celebrated your 10-year anniversary with the river, with Broad River. But prior to joining us, you've been in home furnishings for quite a while. What can you tell us about you, your background, and your career prior to joining the river?
Pretty interesting. It was I was a 16-year-old kid, just really didn't necessarily want to work in the restaurant industry. I ended up seeing some Rhodes Furniture trucks at the a gas station there in the small town I lived in, and just I felt that it would be great to do something that was more physical labor versus maybe flipping burgers, so to speak. So I ended up getting a job at the Rhodes Distribution Center, and it was for a temp service unloading trucks. So I thought, okay, this is good. It's physical labor. A couple of my other friends had worked there, so it was kind of like somebody knew somebody. So I got in, and I just really career path. Once I got in, I knew to make 50 more cents an hour, it was to drive the forklift. To have that opportunity, it would have been that I had to be a standout amongst others because I was working at the temp service. So went from that and then just kind of latched on. I've always been one to have mentors. So I just kind of latched on to some of the managers, the elders around the distribution center there, and moved into furniture repair. So from furniture repair, then it moved into, I did that, pretty successful with that, moved into being a night shift supervisor. So, and this is as time went on. So I was a night shift supervisor for a while, and then I seen how delivery, they were contracted delivery. So I thought that was a really an opportunity to step up. I was about the time of buying a house. I was 19 at the time. So I did contract delivery, and I realized how hard that was. That wasn't necessarily something I could continue to do for the rest of my life at 60 years old. So I just knew how hard it was. So at that time, they had an MIT program for operations. So a gentleman named Don Everett from Rhodes, who had worked there many years, he just kind of, I latched on to him, and he really taught me operations, more like inventory control, conditioned goods, some of the other stuff around the distribution center there. And I exceeded pretty fast. I've always been kind of to the task, a go-getter that way. So really just went in there with a purpose. And then they continued, they had a MIT program for operations, but it was store operations. It was area operations. So that was a location in Columbus, Ohio. So it was seeing 3 locations in Columbus, Ohio as an operations manager at the store level. So overseeing inventory control. It was actually working reports. So it'd be like sold not delivered reports, pending cancellation reports, refunds, all that. A little bit of an auditing of office managers, just anything that had to do with operations at the store level. And that's really what got me into the showrooms, because I was seeing how much fun and excitement was on the sales floor. And I was, of course, working reports, P&L statements, things like that, but it wasn't to the fact of just engaging guests and really having fun, and then being a little bit to the eye of seeing what sales associates may have not been doing that they really should have been doing. So I just had a love for that. So John Dula, who was another mentor of mine, I just kind of got in his ear, and he was all about, moving me into sales because he just knew the opportunity, and which was a transition of a time of a salaried position moving right into sales, which was commission. But I ended up just loving it. I tried it, and I was like 21 at the time, and just took off. So hit the sales floor. It was in November. Of course, it was a huge month, very successful. And then I just really wanted to kind of career path. So through sales manager. So it was going from operations where I dominated, so to speak, and then moving into sales, which was new to me, but I was really passionate, and I was kind of like that learning mindset. I didn't know anything. I kind of had that kind of mindset of not knowing everything, just I wanted to learn. So took it all in, really listened to him, had the mentors around me that were really successful. I knew what to do and what not to do. And then an opportunity came up for GM. So did that at the Princeton Pike location in Cincinnati, Ohio. And that was
how old were you at the time?
21 at the time.
You became a GM at 21?
At 21,
wow.
Yeah. And it was a Princeton Pike location. It was 60,000 square feet. It was the largest volume store in Ohio, and it dominated the Columbus market. It dominated Cincinnati, Northern Kentucky. So that was awesome. Well, then in 2002, I had an opportunity for area manager of either the Charlotte location or the Raleigh-Durham location. And Todd Haiti, another mentor of mine, had called me up, and he was like, "Hey, you know what? I want you to be in either of these locations. I'd love to have you as a leader." So I ended up moving to Raleigh-Durham. We chose Raleigh-Durham so my wife could attend Duke, and so we ended up moving to Raleigh-Durham, and I just loved it, and we took off like a rocket. It was just fun. I've always been one to look for the low-lying fruit, so to speak, anytime taking over a showroom or whatever. So anyways, just really kind of stuck to a process that had worked for Rhodes, and ended up taking this area over. And successful stores were really working. I think we had 127 stores at the time. There was the top 10 stores. I had 2 of them that were top 10. So great performing stores. We had one Glenwood Avenue, Capitol Boulevard, and then one in Durham by New Hope. And then we ended up right around 2004. I was on vacation, August of 2004, and we had problems, like some issues Rhodes did around that time, and we were trying to go through a bankruptcy. It didn't work out necessarily, and I was one of those. Rhodes was older than Coca-Cola, so I was one of those that, hey, we're going to do it. We're going to make it through. I'm a believer, and we're going to make it through. We're going to make it through. I'm looking at KPI reports, so I could see my stores are dominating, and all that fun stuff during this time. So anyways, we ended up getting bought by another company, and that was a competitor that we got bought by. So that was a little bit of a tough time for me, because how do you transition after 12 years at Rhodes? So I ended up, the company that ended up buying Rhodes, they took 7 leaders, 7 GMs. And I remember them visiting some executives, and really I had my showroom during like sell-offs. My showroom looked like a brand new store. I mean, it wasn't marked down to make it look, sloppy or anything else like that. It was not fragmented goods on my floor. It was beautiful. But anyways, the exec came in, and they're like, we're not in here to interview you. We've heard a lot about you. And that wasn't one of those entitlement situations. That was a real indebtment to the leaders, that had given word for me. So I ended up managing a store for them for 6 years, had a great run. And then, but I didn't feel fulfilled. And then I came to the Broad River.
That was at Rooms to Go?
Rooms to Go,
Okay.
yeah. And they're a great company, but it just wasn't, I don't think the entrepreneurial spirit was there for me at the time. And they have their way of doing things, but I really wanted to, I want to grow things. I really do. And I'm big on that. I'm big on like career pathing and all that for the folks that I lead. And there just wasn't that opportunity really there. The growth wasn't there. And I had worked with people previously that had come to Broad River, and one Kenny Fisher, and a gentleman, and he called me up. He's like, "Kevin, you really got to come check out Ashley, Broad River." So I was like, all right. And then I interviewed with Holly Hazan, which I have a lot of respect for, and interviewed with her, and her and I hit it off. And it was just, that's when I joined, and that was July 9th, 2012.
So you were with Rhodes Furniture for 12 years,
Uh-huh.
for 6 years, and then Broad River for 10 years.
That's what
Your whole career has been in home furnishings, essentially.
That's nothing else.
And you just started so young. I mean, you were delivering furniture at what, age 19, you said?
Yeah, I was a contractor for Joseph Aledo. So that's who Rhodes used. And I was delivering,
And
so,
you were repairing furniture, which is a tough job. At age
that's an
18,
art.
I think you said?
Yes, it's an art. And a little bit back on that, I was really, I wanted to be truly great at what I did. So it was one of those things when I was fixing furniture, it was like the Henredon and all that, some expensive stuff. And I really prided myself getting in the booth and being able to do tabletops and some of the other stuff that's difficult. And then of course, delivery, it was just how, at that time, I'm competitive. How can I be delivery driver of the month? So how, and the perks was the $25,000 deal going 3 hours away and only he can get it done and all that fun stuff. So there's a lot of reward for just doing it right.
And it sounds like you had some great mentors along the way while you were at Rhodes.
For sure.
You've shared with me before just the trauma you had at Rhodes when I guess the bankruptcy and people losing their jobs. And of course, you found a home, I guess, at Roomsco. Can you go into that a little bit? Because I think it's informed who you are in your identity as a leader and how much you care today.
Yeah, I think there's always been an indebtment. It's never really been an entitlement. I really, truly walk a sales floor that there's going to be other folks walking this floor. I have to make it successful. It's the longevity play, and I'm a builder, not a destroyer. So at the point of Rhodes was a great company, but they were also partnered or bought by Heilig Myers at one time, and this is a little bit before my time in the 90s, early 90s. And once they were bought, they just changed their whole lineup. So what Rhodes was known for when Heilig Myers came in, having over 2,000 stores and all this, they just really kind of changed the look of Rhodes. And so anyways, it didn't work out for them. Plus at that time, Ashley Home Stores were coming about.
Yeah, but talk to us about, I don't know if it was 04, 05, 06, just when Rhodes, when Rhodes kind of had their struggles and folks lost their jobs. What did that mean to you? What did you say was never going to happen again under your watch?
Yeah, it was, I'm not, if I can help it, that would never happen again, because there was a lot of folks that had tenure there. And you're talking, I could ramble off a bunch of names of awesome folks that had, 30 years there, 20 years there, celebrating their 10-year anniversaries, making income that, house payments, cars, right? Raising kids. And that feeling to know that you can't necessarily control the outcome, and then you're bought maybe by people that don't see that,
well, people lost their jobs.
And it was tough.
It was left a real big impression on.
It really has.
Yeah, and feeling powerless sometimes in those moments. So, because I know we've talked about kind of what that sentiment has meant to you. Okay, so that's an illustrious career prior to coming to the River, but you've had quite an illustrious growth career with the River. So take us through your You started as a general manager in Fayetteville?
Yep, July.
So, take us through your career arc with Broad River.
Yep. Well, starting in July 2012, Raleigh had opened in 2013, and when Jonathan Ishii was in that position, he had come to me along with Tim Denzer and said, "Hey, we have this opportunity in Raleigh. We'd love to have you, take it, and we'd love to have you there." And I just knew the vision that I had for Fayetteville, what we've created. I had plenty of depth and runway, and I just didn't take it the first time around. So, of course, we mentioned, the transition right around September. I ended up transferring over to the Raleigh store right around October 2013.
As general manager.
Yep. And then I ended up, we just grew it out from there, of course, district manager in 2016, and then regional manager in 2018.
Okay, love it. Awesome. And we've seen a lot of growth, which we're going to talk about out east and where your nickname has come from and all that kind of good stuff. Okay, so I tend to believe that most people remember their first day with a new company. Do you remember your first day with Broad River? And if so, what do you remember about that day?
Yeah, well, day one is a lot different in 2012 than it is in 2022. So thank you, MMX team, for that. So really, it was show up for work, I'm glad I had the knowledge coming in because it wasn't truly like a week one and the first month and all that. It was jump in. And there was no GM, and that was the largest box, so to speak, with volume in the company. So it was a matter of I had to hit the ground running. I had to earn the trust of the team. And it was fun. It was just really a meet and greet and go in there and show them that I did have street cred.
Yeah, that's right. Because Fayetteville was rocking and rolling, but we had a
Yeah.
little bit of leadership turmoil. And so you had to step in and kind of right the ship, make sure that the right leader was there when you took over the Fayetteville store. Okay. We opened with the story that you were very vulnerable and shared about taking over Raleigh following Michael's tragic death in 2013. And can you take us through a little bit more of that experience and that time? I mean, I remember the last meal we had as a team when Michael was alive, and it's just so tragic and unexpected. And you had turned down the Raleigh GM position when it was first offered, you just mentioned, but then when we needed you, you stepped up and said, I got it. And so how did you hold the team together? I mean, everyone was so sad and loved Michael. He was a rising star. He was doing amazing things, and Raleigh and Fayetteville were like number one, number two. So he's like a rising star.
Yeah.
And then it was just tragic. But
Yeah, I really, and Michael and I had a lot of conversations, and we were just a lot alike. Moving into that, I couldn't leave Fayetteville empty-handed, so to speak. So when that need arose, on that Wednesday when I drove to Raleigh, thankfully I had created a great leadership team in Fayetteville that supported that team. They knew exactly what to do, and it was being responsible for both stores. So Fayetteville, there was no way at that time I was going to lose sight of what they were doing. But then I had to walk into Raleigh and really give them the love. I mean, they needed love. They were a very talented team. They needed to be loved on, and just that's a lot of long days. A lot of people, of course, leaving early and all that. But as a leader, we're the ones there from morning to night, several weeks in a row, and making sure whether it's food, whether it's fellowship, making sure that Michael got his respect that he deserved. And it's really just keeping people regaining their purpose.
Yeah.
Really. I mean, they lost at that moment, and I needed to kind of stabilize that.
And you did a great job doing that. So I think we're recording this in late August. I think it's the 11-year anniversary of when we first opened our Fayetteville store, as we were talking about the other day. And then, then you took over, 9, 10, 11 months after it had opened. And, it was doing guns blazing. So, you took over in July of that year. We entered Fayetteville. That was our first market in the Triangle. And we had followed another Ashley licensee who had unfortunately lost the market. And we were really proud of the location and the presence that we had. We felt like we were at the corner of Main and Main in that market. We felt like it was a significant upgrade over the previous Ashley location, and that we had the premier location and home furnishings at, where we were. And one of the things that really surprised us when we opened the Fayetteville store is how strongly that store and that team performed above our forecasts and expectations. It was just a really remarkable first year, as we felt we'd really established ourselves in Fayetteville and for a first store in the Triangle. What do you recall about your first year in Fayetteville?
Well, the location was beautiful. That's just an amazing location. Of course, the brand recognition was great. The team was great. What they didn't have was process, and they didn't always have integrity. So it was really a matter of stabilizing that. And it's like anything else, you're going to really, when you take over a location, you're on the hunt for, exposing talent and really helping people vision out where they want to be. Are they really bought in? Creating culture so they see the love, and us truly walking the walk so they see what that looks like. And so we were able to really just run. And I think it's important position to impact. It isn't managing from an office. It was me being out there and coaching and taking, true opportunities, TOs, and just really showing them that I represented the behavior. So it wasn't me just trying to sell belief. It was truly they seen the behavior. We were teaching it, talking it, and walking it. And I had to surround myself with, I was blessed. Missy Charity is an amazing memory maker. You have Craig Gadig, who is awesome. And he just recently celebrated his 11th year. Just I was surrounded by some really awesome people and I just exposed their talents, and I made sure that they knew exactly what I was asking for. They got back.
Now, where did Fayetteville rank for us that year?
We were, I'd never really say flagship, but we were the number one volume store
That's amazing.
Yeah. I was really appreciative of that. That was an awesome time.
And so you talked about, to help Michael Thompson get on board. He came and worked in the Fayetteville store with you for 6 months?
Yeah, he was there for quite a while. And he was, and then of course the folks that live close to Raleigh, like a John LaBeouf, he took some of my talent with him. So that was awesome. It happens.
Yeah.
Hey, we want to grow people.
So we had positioned ourselves really well in Raleigh and we got on Glenwood Avenue. We also entered another market where a previous licensee had been, but they had never been on Glenwood Avenue. And we really wanted to target that sub market. So we followed, so we got that store open, and again, Raleigh Glenwood flew out of the gates and exceeded our expectations. Now, when you took over Raleigh Glenwood and began running that store, what was that experience like?
Well, it was, to take a step back, at one point there was 22 furniture store and mattress retailers on Glenwood Avenue. That was the place to be. So that was awesome for us to be.
A lot of competition.
Yeah, that was a lot of competition, and that was an awesome location. So I knew the street well. I'd been in the market for several years, and I knew what it took to beat the competition. But really, it was back to the same philosophy of process, love, training, and then again, I mentioned earlier, P2I, position impact, being there to walk the walk so they seen what that looked like. And then just really, as we progressed in years, early on, I was trying to find people's why. Like really, what are they coming to work for besides a paycheck?
Yeah.
What is true fulfillment to them?
So important. Now, I think if I have my stats correctly, that then Raleigh became the number one store under your lead.
Yeah,
Is that correct?
That's a proud moment when I came to Fayetteville. That we maintained the number one location for volume, and then Raleigh could never really catch up to us, so to speak. There was a lot of hype around Raleigh being the number one store, and that's what got a lot of people wanting to go to Raleigh. But it didn't for its first 6-7 months, and then so once I got there, I just already knew the recipe. And I just wanted to go out there and capitalize on it. Wow. And I knew to get that team back to living their purpose and their why, we had to go out there and I had to really be 110% to show them that what was possible.
So then Raleigh became the number one store.
It became the number one store. I was very proud of that.
We're starting to sense a common theme here. How did the Raleigh experience differ from the Fayetteville experience?
Fayetteville, I think it's a lot alike. Well, I love the service industry, and I say service as our, I love Fayetteville, Fort Bragg, soldiers. I love it. I can connect with all that. I never served, but I'm very grateful and thankful for that. It was a little bit different of a market that way. Raleigh's more of a techie kind of market, right? Like you got a lot of doctors, so to speak, some tech, stuff like that. So it was just really kind of changing a little bit who I was to that, to adapt. But other than that, I actually had been in the Raleigh market before. A lot of the memory makers that Michael ended up hiring, I had referred to him. So that kind of gave him 4 or 5 people that I knew were true shining stars at other competitors to come join us.
Yeah, you'd been around the bend.
Yeah, so yeah.
So, one of the reasons we started with the tragic story is sometimes people might look at our success in the East over the last 10 years and think it's just been always straight up, right? And it's not. It's been a lot of ups and downs, and and sometimes those broken bones have kind of made us stronger. So one of those is what I like to call the live unload season. So, and I'm going to own this one, but one of the mistakes we made in 2013 or 14 was the process of live unloads. And so let me explain it for a second. We were running out of warehouse space in Charlotte and dock door space in our Charlotte distribution center. And one of the ways that we tried to save on space and delivery costs, was to prep and deluxe all of our merchandise in Charlotte, shrink wrap them up, and load them onto a 53-foot trailer, and then ship those trailers instead of 26-foot trucks. We'd have one truck going as opposed to 2, ship those trailers to each market in the East, which was to Raleigh and Fayetteville at the time, where they would be live unloaded, unsupervised in the elements, in the parking lot of the store, the back behind the store, onto 26-foot straight trucks, box trucks, to be delivered in those local markets. So it was presented to us. It made sense on paper. I made the call to go to that model, and but in practice, it was a colossal failure. Would you agree?
Yeah. We had opportunity.
And unfortunately, it took us quite a while to unwind out of that model. What can you tell us about that experience?
Yeah. Well, I don't want to be the Monday morning quarterback, but working in operations and logistics early on, the accountability wasn't there. And any time that merchandise has to flow a distance in the back of a semi-trailer probably isn't necessarily going to be the best situation. So by the time the trucks were coming in and picking up and then, of course, returning it, you'd see them unloading it be like firewood. And that's really devastating. Furniture is very expensive. And, of course, there's a guest involved.
Yeah.
So, but we made it work. It was one of those, it was like a triage, right? You just have to go and make sure that the guests are getting taken care of. There's going to be time come the next day when a guest didn't have the experience that you wish they had. So we made it work, and we are where we are today. And one thing from that time is I can remember you coming into Raleigh and us sitting in the office and you apologizing. It was unsolicited, but you just knew in your heart. And I'll tell you, you never had to apologize. I know we all had good intentions. It just at that moment didn't work out.
I mean, I'm apologizing again because I still feel guilty about it. But you know
It's
what?
all right. Made me stronger.
Yeah, well, and it made us smarter. I mean, we won't. One of the things is we're gonna make mistakes, but we're gonna try not to pay tuition twice.
Right.
So talking about grit a little bit, I'm going to switch to another season that you and I have a fond memory of and a fond phone call of. I'm going to call it the tent sale season.
Yeah, it was an amazing summer.
Yeah. So another infamous memory, but one that speaks to your grit, centers around the topic of outdoor parking lot tent sales during the summer. There was one year in particular when I think we had a lot of despised product and we ran weekend tent sales for 5 or 6 weeks in a row in Fayetteville. I think we had more product. I remember calling you after one weekend in early June saying, Can you do it again?
Yeah.
I got you, Charlie, whatever
Let's
you
do it.
need.
Yeah.
And I said, what about 4 more weeks? And you kind of, you paused, but I'm sure that you recall the experience. How did that come about? And talk to us about that experience.
Yeah. Well, it was one of those things where if I remember correctly, it was going to be one in June and then one in August. And, here's the thing. That's despised goods. It's taking up space. That's critical for new merchandise coming in. So if there's a problem, we got to find a solution. So anyways, bring the trucks. Let's get it going. So of course tents were set up, and my whole intent was we can make this go, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, or we can do this Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, and I can be out here in P2I. And I already had great AGMs in the store doing what they needed to do. They knew their role. So I hung out there and I made sure there was no, well, maybe I'll come back. No, I don't think it'll be here tomorrow if you wait. This is a one-off. So we moved the product, and then again, I was blessed with several more. So the goal was to have
I don't know if blessing was the right word.
The goal was to have it all completely sold by Saturday evening, because I knew Sunday, if I had waited, well, then that's going to be another day that it may move to our warehouse. Yeah. And there's another great story that when I came to Fayetteville the first time, we had showroom space that's currently showroom space. It was warehouse space. And there was furniture from previous tent sales before I inherited, before I was gifted Fayetteville, that there was loaded with furniture. So we had to move that out. Yeah. We had to move the existing despised product out.
We've cleaned it up, and now it's all showroom space.
Showroom space. Yeah. So it's beautiful.
Yeah, it's great. And okay, so not we'll just go through one more of these trials and tribulations, and then we'll get into some fun stuff. Yeah. The Storis conversion in 2015, which I know you remember. And probably that was the biggest foible of them all, was our failed ERP conversion. When we initially converted to Storis, I would say now we're a premier partner of Storis, and we love Storis. But the misery that ensued during the first half of 2015, which is well documented on this podcast, a time that I like to say that we broke all of our bones, nearly died, but it turned out to be the best thing that ever happened to us, and that we've only grown so much stronger and more resilient from that experience. What do you recall from the first 6 months or so of 2015?
Well, of course, there's always excitement, new computer system coming. So we're really excited about that. And then the training comes on, and everybody learns through a different level. We had some amazing instructors, some senior leaders that helped teach that out. And then the rollout day. And I'm probably the biggest fan of manila folders, because when the computer, when it didn't just go as planned, it was a triage again of saving sales and making sure also that HFCs weren't overly concerned, right? You wanted to really work it so they weren't concerned about losing sales, and some inventory control was going a little, we had some opportunity there, but we made it work. And that when I say manila folders, I had my 1 through 31 with guests I needed to contact each day. And hey, it was a different time and different place, but it made us who we are today. So,
we can kind of joke or laugh about it now because we
Yeah.
got through it. I'm going through this now. I don't know how we got through it live unloads, 10 sales, failed ERP, but we did. And even when we were at our worst, we actually decided to keep growing.
Yeah.
What people don't realize is we signed the lease for the Durham store in August 2015 and opened that store in 2016. We were at our very worst in August 2015. That's when I can't believe we did that. So, but we began to turn things around and operate better. And we entered another previous sub-market in a different location from a previous Ashley licensee who was previously in Durham. And we opened that store in January 2016. It became our first 6.0 Ashley home store at the time. And it was a smaller footprint than we normally do for a new store. Part of the reason was where we were at that time and to keep our occupancy costs low. And we were still recovering financially, as we talked about, from everything that had occurred in 2015. And we still needed to rebuild. But that store became a powerhouse in terms of its KPIs, sales per guest, and exceeding its expectations. It was like the little engine that could. It was a small little box, but packed quite a powerful punch. And I give a lot of that credit to just the salesmanship and the leadership led by you and Michael Childers. I believe you had a hand in recruiting Michael Childers internally within the company, who, we've had him on the podcast, to move to the growing East region and take over the general manager duties in the new Durham store at that time. But also this is when you moved into the district manager position, overseeing Durham, Raleigh, and Fayetteville, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So how did your role change when you became a DM?
Well, you got to be able to scale out. It was one of those scaling out, keeping the vision. Thankfully, back to recruiting Michael Childers, I just had always at GM RXs had paid a lot of attention to him. And I just knew him and I are a lot alike, and I got a lot of respect for him, and I wish him the absolute best. Anyways, we just got to talking, and this opportunity came up, and we're at a GM meeting, and he had come up to me, and he was just like, "Hey, I'd really love to come out to the East region. Would you have me?" And I was like, "Absolutely." And he is a sponge, of course. He's going to listen. He's going to learn. Plus, he's a part of a lot of great, he's a thinker, comes up with a lot of great ideas. I would say willing to push the boundaries, but he loves sales, and he's going to go out there and drive it. And along with him coming, a lot of the success of Durham was the sales managers that followed. So you had Randy Shepard, and there was a couple others, and that was a blessing also.
Yeah. Who took over for you as general manager in Raleigh?
It was Rick Rush.
Okay.
So that was a blessing also.
And that was another recruitment from Charlotte.
Rick and I,
You're a great external recruiter, but you're also you're a great internal recruiter.
Yeah, Rick's been great. And, Rick and I just engaged in leadership meetings. And of course, we're both on the RPC Council. This may be in 2013, 2014. So
RPC, Retail Performance Council.
Yes.
Yeah, got it. Okay. And so we then began to build out the East region. And so then began a flurry of new store openings in the East, is like one right after another. Cary opened in a former H.H. Gregg box in early 2018, which is when you were promoted to a regional manager 2 years after being a DM. And then Raleigh Capital opened in another former H.H. Gregg in 2019. Wilson opened in a converted Furniture Liquidators in July 2019. So they're going in succession. Then the Raleigh Outlet opened in January 2020. And so now we're on every 6 months. And then the Rock opened in Four Oaks as a distribution center in March 2020, right when the pandemic began. And the home store there at the Rock opened in June 2020. And then Durham South Point opened in July 2020. That's 6 new stores in about a 30-month period, less than 3 years. Wow. I mean, that is quite impressive. How did you guys get it done?
Well, it was one of those that recruiting was really important. We figured out the recipe was, when Cary opened, it was Michael to open it. And then, of course, have the few strong the talent HFCs and sales managers around the region that wanted to come and join. Not everyone, of course, not the best. They were the best of the best, but there's still a lot of great talent that was still existing in other stores. And then it became Durham. New Hope was the place that the newest leader could train in. It's a great starting point,
Yeah.
and just to kind of cut their teeth. And so that was that as far as Carrie. And then, we moving over, I interviewed, Josh Stanley and Bridget at one point and picked up two amazing leaders there. And
Yeah.
that really, Rick was able to mentor my Oak City GM, which was Bridget, and she did wonderful. I remember that grand opening very well. And then we ended up, Ray Templeton was a great recruit. And then the recipe changed from Michael transferring around opening stores to Ray. So Ray had opened several locations also and grew.
That's awesome. So just recruiting, cross-training, leveraging talent, current leaders, and we got it done. Okay, The Rock. And so you have helped us have tremendous success building out the entire Triangle market. You said earlier, you're a builder, not a destroyer. And the East region that we opened, when we opened our premier distribution center to service the East region in Four Oaks, North Carolina, right off I-95, combined with a call center, a learning center, a home store, an outlet, a super center, if you will. How did it feel when we announced that this new campus was going to open?
Well, I'll tell you, first of all, we went and it was you and Manny, and we checked out locations. To be a part of that is something awesome. Then to have the location picked and then to announce it, it was like, that's really what you work for. Everybody's hard work. That's like the dream, the distribution center, the super center right here in the region. That was a huge accomplishment for everyone working and in the organization that helped create that. So that was awesome. And then just the job creation.
Yeah.
Really, job creation is another thing that I just really is probably one of my biggest loves.
Yeah. I love this phrase, earning the right. And I feel like you guys had earned the right to have your most premier world-class campus and not have the long haul deliveries, locally originated deliveries that we're going to heavily invest in. We started these processes take a long time. I think we started the search for the land and the site in October 2018, broke ground March 2019 and opened it March 2020.
Yeah.
And then the pandemic started. So the leadership team in the East, your general managers, came up with an identity, a nickname for this new campus and store, because we believe, that purpose begins with identity. And they said that they were going to call it The Rock to honor the nickname that I believe I had given you. I called you The Rock because you were going to be, like in biblical times, Peter was the rock that, Jesus built the church around, and you're the rock that the foundation we're going to build the East region around. And I think it's the perfect nickname for our super center and campus in DC and Four Oaks. How meaningful was it to you to have the company's largest ever single investment be given an identity in your honor?
I don't know how to put words to that. A lot of folks, I just got to go back to the team that helped create that. There was just, it's amazing. It really is. And that's something that when I literally walk the rock, I mean, what is that? I keep going back to the temporary wall that's there on the one side, because we're one day hopefully going to double its size.
That's right.
So I just think, what is this going to look like in 10 years from now? So that's really kind of what I vision out, but I'm very blessed.
Awesome.
Very blessed.
Okay, I'm going to shift gears for a second. Just keep it positive. Orange Crush Tours. Okay, so you've been on all of the Orange Crush Tours. What can you share of your favorite memories and recollections from our 3 OC tours from 2017, 2018, and 2019?
Absolutely. So, just of course, the idea. How does all this stuff come to fruition? So just like the senior leadership, the think tank on that. And then just going out, really the fun part was the Shark Tank. To just have GMs and leaders, and of course, all part of the leadership team at the store, to think, how can we grow the business acumen that's involved in all these first times for many folks. And, some people feel a little timid and scared, and it's us as leaders to help walk them through that. So that, and then of course, just engaging. 2017 when we first started, it was a lot different than 2019, right? So as it continued to progress through the years, at 2019, I can remember Jamie Galloway, her first week with us, we had purposeful spaces. And Jamie Galloway was a new visual who had done Fortnite there in Raleighwood.
That was really cool.
Oh, it was awesome. And then Rick Rush had, kind of like a 40s theme.
Yeah.
So that was awesome. And then going to Renee Bradley, they had
Walk down memory memory lane.
Yeah, walk down memory lane, which was awesome. And then one of the greatest moments of that time from OC3 was Oak City's grand opening when they had the Hawaiian dancer there, right? And
the luau.
The luau. So, and Bridget had put all that together.
Yeah.
So that was really awesome for it.
Carrie had Camp Carrie with all the campground games and contests.
And then you had people bringing in a bull you could ride.
The mechanical bull.
There were some cows brought in, real cows.
So
it was wild. It was a great time.
It got wild. A lot of laughter, a lot of fun times.
Yeah.
Speaking of fun times, breaking bread together.
Uh-huh.
You've been to a lot of events where we have broken bread together with our people. It could be, experts dinners, Thanksgiving dinners, casual meals out while traveling the market, like to Angus Barn.
Yeah.
With your leadership team, all of retail leadership and some executives after RX meetings, sometimes to Jim and Nick's, Christmas dinners with our senior retail leaders in Charlotte with our significant others. How meaningful have these times meant for you and for our people when we have gathered to connect and break bread together?
Yeah. What I love about that is we've come together through work, and just to be outside of work in a setting where people can be truly like themselves without the goal set in front of them, so to speak, right? Or maybe something that they needed to do that it becomes a 3-second conversation versus giving it time. So anyways, it's meant a lot just to engage people outside work and see them in a little bit different of a light. And I don't know all the companies that really invest that much time, like invest in a great way, a meaningful way, connecting.
Different level. We've had people who've said, the Thanksgiving dinners that when we all went and shared our favorite Thanksgiving story memory was like their favorite.
That's my favorite.
Is it really?
I had thought about that.
Wow.
That would definitely be the one.
I was going to ask, do you have any favorite memories?
It'd be the Thanksgiving Day dinner, man. It was just, that was it. It was just to see all those tables around and everybody sharing what they're thankful for. And I just love hearing about people's families and what they love, the kids and all that. That's really...
Everyone went and talked about their favorite Thanksgiving memory or something?
Yeah. We just went around. That whole room in Fort Mill was just... I don't know how many tables it took, every table that we had. But it was chairs
like
all
50
around.
People.
Yeah, it was great.
There was something special that evening, I think. And that's about coming together and connecting.
Yeah.
Okay, RX meetings. You've been a part of several retail excellence meetings, what we like to refer to as RX, like a prescription, like the prescription for success, right? And many of them, you and your region have been celebrated for your top performing sales results and KPIs. What are some of your favorite memories from RX meetings?
Really, memory makers, leaders, HFCs, they're out there working really hard, and REMs, and to see them recognized, whether it's cheeseburger, contest or the cheeseburger trophy or Yoda or hitting the highest revenue to budget and the KPIs, to see that in their glow. And a lot of times it's a first time for them. And I don't know of other companies who always recognize at that level. And that's just really what I gained most out of all that.
Yeah. Well, oftentimes you guys are being celebrated, so that makes it a lot of fun because you've had a lot of success out
There's
east.
some great competition going on right now.
That's right. That's right.
We gotta get to work.
Well, it's just regression to the mean, or everyone's coming up to the standard, right? The standard that you set.
Yeah.
Do you remember some of the pep rallies we've done in conjunction with these in Fort Mill?
The dunking booth comes to mind. Does anybody ever sign up for the dunking booth?
I remember my kids throwing they love the dunking booth. I think I got last. You don't want to go last in the dunking booth because the water's not really chlorinated or clean.
Right. Yeah. So the see-through the glass dunking booth, I would say, is not something I normally sign up for, but I felt compelled to do it. So
that's awesome.
That was awesome.
Ashley Domination, July 2017 in Tampa. Do you recall the Ashley Domination event that many of us attended in Tampa? We took 40 of our leaders to the Tony Robbins event with hundreds of people from Ashley Furniture and other licensees from all over the globe, really, for a big multi-day leadership development event. We had never done anything like that before at that scale with so many of our leaders safely flying everyone down and getting them all back. What do you recall from that experience?
I'll tell you, I think one of the most awesome things about that experience is GMs and sales managers went, and we literally took all of the leadership team and we empowered some top HFCs within the stores that were, not going, the leaders that weren't going, to go and shine. In that week that we were gone in June, they dominated it. So while we were as leaders taking in Tony Robbins and a lot of great speakers. It was amazing. Anyways, we dominated that week, which I was really super proud about, just to see that happen. A lot of people that were at the stores, their firsts to dominate that week, to see the leaders and sales managers go and get poured into. And then, of course, it being Ashley Industries, that was huge. So you're just surrounded by like-minded people. So I really think everybody should experience Tony Robbins at least once. So it was awesome.
It was really cool. Okay, so we've also had a few semi-annual, not even just annual awards, but semi-annual award ceremonies at the Fort Mill campus. Any standout memories for you from these?
Yeah, one that really stands out was the outdoor kickoff.
Yeah.
That was really cool. I really enjoyed that. Of course, everybody coming together. And again, it's an award celebration, but getting away from that part, just to see outdoor rolled out, to have a live band, food trucks, all that fun stuff, and just the engagement around that. That was one of the most highlights. That was definitely a highlight for myself when I think back.
Really cool. What do you recall from the January 2020 annual awards gala in Uptown Charlotte, where we celebrated the top achievements from 2019?
Yeah, that was, I know a pearl white BMW with red leather interior was given away. So that's definitely a memorable moment. But there was a lot of award celebrations that night. It was just an amazing event. And I automatically think back to, the MMX team putting that all together. And that was a top gala from the moment you walked in till when it ended. It was just a memorable night.
The whole experience.
It was just the whole experience. I think that's recorded too, so people should check it out.
Yeah. We'll if we have it on YouTube, we'll put definitely list it in the show notes. Okay, Leadership Summit. You've attended several of our leadership summits. Well, everyone that I guess we've done. Do you recall when we brought in Joey Ryman and Inky Johnson for our annual leadership summit in Fort Mill in late August 2018? And we also unveiled our organizational purpose statement, Furnishing Life's Best Memories, that time. And if so, what do you remember about this particular leadership summit?
Yeah, Joey Ryman is amazing. Purpose is just, it really was never exposed like that until he came in and really explained it. And Furnishing Life's Best Memories, I mean, it just keeps, it almost grows legs, so to think, when you think everybody it touches. That was awesome. Of course, the painting. I remember the unveiling of the painting. Yeah. That was really important.
That's cool.
Yeah, and then to have Inky Johnson, it was lunch with Inky. Right. There was
before he spoke.
Yeah. Before he spoke. And Inky is just, to hear his story. Of course I had heard it, but then to be live, and he's so approachable. It's amazing how many speakers are just always open and friendly and really allow that time, just have the one-on-one. It was amazing. So that was huge for a lot of folks here at Broad River.
I'm glad you mentioned the painting. We commissioned that piece of art to explain, hey, part of the reveal is this artwork that we were going to unveil, still hanging in our Fort Mill lobby or entrance when you walk in. Okay, so the following year, we converted from a leadership summit to a purpose summit, Purpose 828, on August 28th, 2019, during our year of purpose. And what do you recall about Purpose 828 with Zach Mercurio, Justin Barnes, Janine Moniz, Justin Jones-Fosu, and Dr. V?
Yeah. Well, Zach, what really stands out, and I've read his book, Invisible Leader, it's just amazing how many times I've used that book anytime I'm trying to gain culture in a showroom or wherever that may be. So it's really living to your why, and then how can we help others, and how amazing culture is to have that invisible leader. It's something you don't necessarily see, but you can pretty much feel it when you walk in the showroom, to have that. And then Justin's amazing guy on hype all the time. And then, Dr. V, what an amazing, just a professional, just a true, I would say doctor, but he'd say I'm not a doctor, only on TV. So anyways, it was an amazing time.
Yeah, that talk was the science of selling sleep with purpose. We brought him back a few times to speak to us.
Yeah.
How important do you think all of these recognition, celebration, leadership events are to building our culture and growing our leaders?
Well, if you're on the outside looking in, you've probably never worked for a company to be able to experience that. So you don't know if it's real. And I think when people, a part of Broad River, actually sense it and feel it, they know it and see it, and they realize it's attainable. So it actually pours out to other folks. And in situations, it's not always hitting a target like a KPI. It's truly like us growing them as wherever they want to go. So their why, their purpose. It's amazing stuff.
I love it. So you've been a GM, a general manager, a district manager, and a regional manager for us. How have you grown as a leader in each of these roles?
Yep. Well, I think, you have to have vision. Jocko explained it, and that was a great memorable moment when we went to see him. Jocko discusses decentralized command, and it's not down and in the business. It's looking out and forecasting, looking up and out. And what you got to be able to do is make sure that the team sees the vision and that it's not always just being down in the business on that particular day. Yes, we have leaders. We're going to do that, all that fun stuff. But what does it look like 30 days? What does it look like 60 days? What are we really trying to capture this year? And empowering people. Like, you have to have that think tank where you're sharing ideas. And we don't have to have all the right answers, even as leaders. How many times do I go and to my team that I have now, and I share maybe the problem that we have, and what are we going to do to capture it? So what are we going to do to rebound or gain control or go achieve? So it's really just that when it comes to.
It sounds like that's how you've been able to scale your impact, just taking this decentralized approach and visioning, whether you're visioning with the sales force, visioning with a group of GMs, or visioning with a larger group of GMs and sales managers. It's always planning out 30, 60, 90, 6 months, a year. And with decentralized command, what the Jocko talks about.
This is their region. My GMs, this is their region. Yeah. My HFCs, this is their region.
Give them
this is their
ownership.
And it's really important to share that ownership.
That's awesome. Well, how important has organization and time management been to your success as you have grown and scaled your leadership impact?
Well, less procrastination, right? Like it's sometimes we get to projects and we're like, man, if I only had 2 more days, well, what if we started 2 days sooner, right? So it's one of those things that sometimes I get joked, the people that do know, I go to bed sometimes early, and I think it's kind of corny. Some people make, kind of laugh about it. And it's like 9:30, so it's not too early. Yeah. But I notice I gain more in the morning, right? Like getting up and being in a store by 7 or so. That's my undivided attention to what I have to do, and everything's got a time. I'm very when it comes to time management, I write a lot of stuff down.
You're not inefficient.
Yeah, I try not to be.
Yeah. I got it. Okay, so we touched on this earlier, recruiting and an eye for talent. That's one of the things you've always been known for is your eye for talent and your ability to recruit. What do you look for in a potential future leader?
I look for purpose. Like, where do they see themselves in a year? Where do they see themselves in 3 years? What is their real goals? It's really important to understand that folks don't come in entitled. It's great to have a book of business, your resume to be really polished and you got a lot of success. But we have to maintain that we're a student of the business. Eye contact, real a level of sincerity. So I look for indebtment to really want to understand the process, because we talk about imposters, like the imposter syndrome. Well, what about the imposters that don't really have any interest?
Yeah.
Right? So we got to make sure that we don't make the wrong decision and that we get people that are really interested. So when I look at it and I hear about imposters, I look at it too. Imposter as the one that wants to grow, and you got to kind of, work and do it, and you really have that sincere grit to go get it done. And then the imposter that's not really interested, just looking for a job, well, you're leading people. So we got to make sure you're a leader, not a manager.
That's right. And I love that phrase I talked about, earning the right. And so there's always a price to something. So what is the price of admission to be a leader on your team in the East region?
It would be, I like students. I really like people who listen, and that just, and that could be to the manager that's training them, however that looks. I like people that really try. So if you fail's okay. We can fail, but make sure that we're learning from it.
So effort and curiosity.
Yeah, absolutely.
Those great characteristics. Have you always had this knack for recruiting and this ability to be a magnet for top tier talent?
I love people, and I want to make sure that nobody, when it comes to me, nobody's given up on. So I think I can walk into Jason's Deli and see $1 million rider. I can walk into Subway and really see the potential of $1 million rider. So I think people deserve that teaching, that training. And of course, not everybody is interested. So, but for those that are interested, I want to grow them. They're future leaders. What if somebody, when I was unloading the truck, Dale Jones didn't move me to the forklift driver? Where would I be?
So it's both your personal experience plus like what Maxwell talks about. It's what's reminding me of. See the value in someone else, see the potential that they could be, and always looking at them for that lens, provided that they want to do it, right? That their why connects to it. So why do you think leaders want to work for you and seek your mentorship?
I think that they see there's fun in it, And I got a little bit of a dry sense of humor, like it's okay to make a mistake, so to speak, as long as we're learning, and that I'm competitive, but I'm competitive with love. So I'm not going to walk past bad. We'll high five, or I'm going to correct you.
Yeah.
But it's all out of love. So
Right.
I think that they really feel like they got a chance, that I'm going to allow them to be themselves and tease that out, but controlled themselves. And we're going to go and get some things done. I want a goal set with them.
Love it. You've worked for some amazing leaders. Tell us about the impact of some of the leaders who you've had.
I have a lot of them. Don Everett with Rhodes was one of my the leaders that probably gave me the most responsibility. And I remember the first responsibility he gave me, a report, and it was pretty ugly with the numbers on there. But he said, "Hey, it's not a pretty picture that I'm going to hand you, but hey, I'll help you through it. And if you can get this taken care of, I promise you'll put a big feather in your cap, because this is a problem for the company." So, anyways, that was early on. Currently Stacy McCormick is a huge mentor of mine right now. So the whole C4 sales process, just his level of love and gratitude and really truly the behavior before the belief, everything that he's teaching is just there's a lot of value. And I don't know of any other leaders that are really as passionate and dialed into a process as he is. So I'm very blessed right now to have him as a leader.
Okay, yeah, I agree. Stacy has been an awesome leader and had an impact on many folks. Kevin, this conversation's flowing and it's going so well, but I know you've been here a long time. You got a lot of great wisdom and stories and memories to share. And I don't want to cut you short, brother. So let's do this. Let's make this a two-parter.
Why not?
Yeah. So this has been Kevin Kinmann, episode 1, Stories from the River. And hey, do us a favor, mash that like button or that subscribe button wherever you are listening or watching this podcast, and come back next week. We're going to pick it up with part 2 with Kevin Kinmann. And thanks so much for watching. Thank you, Kevin.